All right, so moving on to the final segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford rematch only happening at the welterweight division at 147 pounds. Now let's get into this because this is really big. Terence Crawford has officially confirmed that if a rematch with Errol Spence takes place, the contract states in the second fight will be at 147 pounds unless either fighter notifies in writing that they can no longer make 147 pounds. No longer can make the weight. Errol Spence has not done that after cashing in his rematch clause. So, this is a big update in terms of having this rematch. The more the story develops, I cannot see this rematch happening. Why do I not see this rematch happening? Is due to the fact that Errol Spence has clearly stated that he wants to move up to 154 pounds. He clearly has it in his Instagram bio. He's not interested in moving back to the welterweight division to have another undisputed championship fight at the 147 pound division. Clearly, the WBC is already ranking Errol Spence top 5 at the 154 pound division. So it's clearly indicated that Errol Spence has officially moved to 154 pounds. And I do not see this fight happening. I do not see this rematch happening. If this is not going to be 154 pounds, I do not see this happening. Now, I see a lot of roadblocks in the way of Errol Spence trying to get his rematch. Now, I understand, I respect the fact that Errol Spence wants the rematch against Terence Crawford. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got a heart, a warrior spirit. And he, at the end of the day, he's a competitor. He wants to get his lick back. But there's rules in boxing that Errol Spence is very aware of, and he used that to the advantage for the first fight. There's an A side and B side in boxing, and when you're the A side, you get the last say. You get to make sure that everything you want is set in stone, and that the B side has to take the offer of the A side. And Errol Spence is no longer the A side in this situation. It's all up to what Terence Crawford wants to do, since Terence Crawford did win that undisputed championship fight, and he is the undisputed champion at 147 pounds. So people and Terence Crawford's camp has already came out on social media saying that they want Errol Spence to decline the rematch at 147 pounds. So they could just get Terence Crawford to go ahead and focus on different fights, big fights in the sport of boxing. So they really think that the rematch between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is just a waste of time because it could potentially be another one-sided beatdown that Terence Crawford gave Errol Spence in the first fight. They want to potentially go on to fight fighters like Jermell Charlo and Canelo Alvarez, the winner of that fight, by the end of the month of September. They want to go after these big fights. And I can't blame Terence Crawford, because why would you want to waste another fight on Errol Spence when you already dominated him in the first fight? And I've already said that there's no point of having a rematch right now at any weight class, because if you have the rematch at 147, it seems like Errol Spence was weight trained. I'm not saying that's an excuse for him, because Terence Crawford had a hard time making weight as well. So there's no excuses on my end, and should be no excuses on anybody's end of how that fight ended in favor of Terence Crawford dominating Errol Spence. However, I just can't see, if you move up to 154, you're giving Terence Crawford more ammo, you're giving him more ammunition, you're giving him more power, you're giving him more of an advantage of being a bigger fighter than what he once was in the first fight. So that's why I said there's really no need for Errol Spence to dive into the rematch. And I think he should have just let the rematch clause go and potentially book the fight down the line, maybe at the end of 2024, early 2025. But he wants to fight now, and Terence Crawford, it's already 35, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. He's already 40-0. We're seeing the end of Terence Crawford's career. He wants to go out on top. He wants to leave the sport in his prime. That's going to dictate how much time he has left. And I think Terence Crawford only has a good maybe three fights left in him. Terence Crawford wants the big fights. Like I just mentioned, he wants to fight the winner of Jermell and Canelo. And he wants to pursue one more goal, and that's becoming an undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. He's already been the first male boxer to ever do that, and be an undisputed champion in 2 different weight classes. Now he wants to do it a third time, being an undisputed champion in 3 different weight classes. He's eyeing the winner of Jermell Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez. To me, it just doesn't seem like this rematch is going to happen between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and maybe that might be for the best. Maybe that could lead to getting a mega fight of a lifetime between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, or a mega fight between Jermell Charlo and Terence Crawford. Bottom line, I think those fights are way bigger at this particular point than having a rematch where Errol Spence, that could potentially be a one-sided fight once again. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. It's your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.